Take a guess what I asked the mechanic that last worked on my car to repair, and he said he didn't do it. Well, it's the gearbox, which is completely gone. I think that the entire gearbox is kaput, really. I think I'm going to have to purchase another one. Yeah, the gearbox does not sound healthy at all. The car is shooting forward, it's darting forward. It's no longer kind of stepping through neutral. It just goes literally from 0 to literally 100 miles an hour. So I've got a transporter that's on the way to come and pick me up. That's going to be another 2 hours in the rain. Of course, it's nice and miserable today. Not only am I meant to be back at work, but obviously this is all preventable maintenance. I did ask the mechanic to do this work, and he said he just didn't do it, and I thought I had time. So if you're going to purchase one of these high mileage Range Rovers, you don't have time. You've got to do all of this preventative maintenance, otherwise you're going to end up stranded and stuck like I am. This is the second time in about a month. Exactly 6 months ago, I was stood in this same spot. The L322 that you can see behind me was in the middle of the road. The gearbox had seized. So in this video, we're going to go through exactly what's happened to the L322 in the last 6 months. Welcome to Pendle. As you can see, absolutely gorgeous countryside all round. The L322 is back where it belongs in the countryside. So just going to have a quick look at the views here, because it really is beautiful, before we go for a short drive and a quick catch up on the L322 and what exactly has been going on with this car over the last 6 months. Apologise if the motion's a bit jerky, but I thought the scenes would make up for the jerkiness, and there's no better place really to test this car than in the countryside. So I've had the car for around a week. I picked the car up last Wednesday. Well, it's a weekend, maybe 3 days. It's Saturday today. I picked the car up Wednesday a week ago, so not this Wednesday just gone by, the Wednesday before that. I got a call out of the blue, stating that the car was ready. I was just about to buy another Range Rover. I've really fallen for another TDV8 Westminster that I've seen going for a remarkable price. That's another project that has some overheating issues that I believe are surmountable. So I basically become a bit impatient after waiting around 6 months. This car was at last on the road in December. So yeah, I thought that basically we were going to have to write the car off, because the technicians had struggled really to diagnose the fault. What a wonderful scene. Yeah. Nice to go out fishing. It's probably been banned, but yeah, it's almost black water, the reservoir. It's meant to reflect the skies. But yeah, it's a gorgeous day here in Lancashire. And, yeah, we're just coming up to Oakworth in Keighley. So we're just going to navigate through Stanbury, Wuthering Heights, and then we'll come up to some of the villages in Keighley. After traversing through all these sheep, there's a traffic light in 300 yards. So the car's an absolute dream to drive, if I'm honest. The engine is running so good. I'm pretty certain you could put a pound coin on top of it and it wouldn't roll off. It's just running wonderfully well. I'm really grateful and happy that, yeah, the engine rebuild was successful. It's right round, it's a little bit deceptive there. Yeah, the engine rebuild was very successful. So last December, the last time we were driving this car, I was stuck in the middle of a road, really, where you're not allowed to stop. It was in a no stopping section, and I'd just gotten out the car, and one of the guys that was passing by said, "Your gearbox is gone." So I just thought, obviously it was a technician, somebody that knew about cars, and yeah, that is what was happening with the car. The car was basically going from 0 to 100 miles an hour. So you'd start the car and it was jumping straight to 5th or 6th gear, which obviously was quite startling, and that problem remained from December till, yeah, probably around a couple of weeks ago. It was a bit of a head scratcher for the technicians. They obviously tried everything, started off with this center console here, and I think they replaced it with one from another car, and then maybe a couple of months ago I had some dialogue with them and they thought it was a transfer box, and yeah, so they continued to diagnose. So it took a long time to diagnose the fault, and the problem was a completely avoidable one. The really good news for me is I didn't need to replace the gearbox. So I'd put aside 3 to 4 grand as I was expecting a gearbox replacement. This turned out not to be the case, thankfully, because the car didn't need a new gearbox. So the ZHP gearbox that they talk about, that is much lauded, the 8-speed ZHP gearbox that's in this car, that's also in every BMW in 2024, every Audi, every Mercedes, every Aston Martin up till probably around 2020, 2022. Even the Lamborghini Urus has the same gearbox in this car. So I was a little bit disappointed, thinking that the gearbox had gone, and thankfully it hadn't. But it was an issue related to the gearbox, specifically the front differential. So that was what had caused this car to come off the road. Now, the technicians mentioned that the car basically had had a leak. Okay, the passenger, sorry, yeah, somebody walking here. Let me just make sure. Yeah. This morning's So yeah, we've just seen some of these countryside lovers. I really should come here during the week, really, where it's less busy. But anyway, yeah, the technicians mentioned that the front differential had a leak. The owner had neglected to repair this problem, and what had subsequently occurred was that dirt accumulated around the front differential and then caused the differential to seize. So a completely avoidable fault, just like pretty much everything on this car. It's being precipitated by poor or no maintenance, really. I believe that this car got to 100,000 miles and never saw a mechanic until it seized. So had the owner of the car serviced the front and rear differential, that has to be done at 60,000 miles and obviously 120,000 miles, then we wouldn't have had this issue. It's a serviceable item. Thank you. I'm talking to the other drivers. Here we're in some really tight squeezes, really, in this car. Yeah, we're just passing. Is it the Wuthering Heights Inn? No, this is the Friendly. I know there's somebody behind me, but yeah, we've just got the Wuthering Heights Inn. So this is where Kate Bush got the title for her first album, her debut album. Obviously this is all Bronte County. Yeah, Stanhope, it's a wonderful, wonderful part of Yorkshire. So the total costs were £1,000. It ended up costing just over £1,000. I think I paid 1,100. That was probably for the fuel, any diesel costs, you know, the extra 100 quid. And I don't believe that 100 quid, sorry, the 1,100 quid was to replace anything. It was just, that's how long it took to diagnose the fault. Now, I am obviously a software engineer. I'm a technical architect, enterprise architect, solution architect. I wear many hats. So I'm familiar really with technical challenges, and that, yeah, sometimes it can take a long time to figure stuff out. And so hopefully this will be something that the community up here on YouTube can learn from. If you decide to buy one of these L322s and it's been poorly looked after, you find that it's not drivable, it's stuck in gear, then have a look at the front and rear differentials, and the items should be ones that you service immediately the minute you get one of these cars. If you don't know what the history is, yeah, definitely service the gearbox and the front and rear differentials and the transfer box. So I believe, as I said, that this was all completely avoidable, and that the problems on this car were just due to, you know, really poor ownership. So don't believe what people say about Range Rovers or Land Rovers, because the biggest problem isn't the brand, the biggest problem is the owners of Range Rovers. Yeah, so the problem isn't with Range Rover itself, it's with the owners of Range Rovers, especially the ones that buy the car after 100,000 miles, or the car's over 10 years old, that tend to just run the car into the ground. They neglect the maintenance on these cars. They think it's a Peugeot 106 or something like that, really, that requires minimal maintenance. These cars have, okay, go on, sir. These cars have a lot of complexity to them, and they need to be serviced, and they need to be serviced on time. And if you service them on time, they'll look after you. So everything really that's been wrong with this car, even the engine rebuild, was just down to no oil changes. As I say, I suspect that between 100 and 150,000 miles, this car didn't go anywhere near a mechanic. And yeah, so the engine ended up seizing, and the rear differential wasn't far off. So within about 2,000 miles, the car's had full engine rebuild, and we've just had to, as I say, unclog the differential. So hopefully we're really now at the end. You know, I believe the car's more or less perfect now. It's driving beautifully. I mean, I really cannot express to you just what a great place this car is. The only technical issue that I'm aware of is the steering. So the steering is a little bit loose, it's a little bit kind of wobbly, and it's been picked up on by the technicians that said it needs a new steering rack. So that's obviously sort of the rack and pinion mechanism. Quite a big job, but some of the other jobs have actually been more important, like engine rebuild and getting the front differential operational. So hopefully I'll be able to take the car back to the same people that did the engine rebuild to sort out the steering, and then yeah, this car's perfect. So I'm now really obviously looking for another project because I'm bored. All my cars run, all my cars work, and I'm not really used to that. I'm becoming a little bit addicted to yeah, just dealing with these non-runners. I love the challenge. It's very similar to some of the IT projects that I work on. They tend to be really sort of greenfield projects. The software world's become quite throwaway nowadays as well, so yeah, we tend not to maintain software for as long as we ought to, really, but yeah, people tend to just throw software away. But I've subcontracted quite a bit in the UK, and yeah, very familiar with coming across sort of huge enterprise projects that are failing or have failed, that I need to usually re-engineer or fix what's wrong with them. So yeah, I just get a buzz out of yeah, these broken cars. So yeah, don't be surprised if you see me with another Range Rover. Now, why Range Rover? You know, why not BMW? Well, the truth is, you've got to be a little bit savvy if you're creating content on YouTube. I think that there are some people that are kind of diluting the ecosystem. There's a number of people that have established themselves pretty well. Obviously, you've got people like M539 Restorations, BMW Doctor, Nathan's BMW, Booby's Garage, loads of people. Not economically viable, probably up and coming now. He's the one to watch. But quite a few people kind of dilute the ecosystem, and they don't do anything particularly surprising or new. And it's a little bit boring. So I'm trying not to do stuff other people have done already. If I am tackling stuff other people have done, then I'm going to try and do it in a different light. The truth is, me finishing off the BMW E39, I don't think that's going to result in 100,000 views, never mind a million views. But for the Range Rovers, these cars are hugely aspirational. Every video I post usually does quite well. I've been working at an IT career for the last 20 years, and it really doesn't make sense for me to quit IT now to start working on YouTube. I've got a lot of ideas. The truth is, YouTube now requires quite a lot of money, and you've basically got to be kind of financing these projects from start to finish. You can't do what I'm doing, which is you get a car and you work on it a bit and then you wait 6 months and then it comes back. You know, you're never going to build up a loyal following. You need to literally just be working on a car 3 to 4 weeks. You finish that project, you move on to the next one. And I really think at the moment there's a proliferation of auto YouTube. I want to be like Adam Flower. So if you go on YouTube and you search for a YouTuber called Adam Flower, he's got a BMW 740D. Really good content creator. He's got maybe 4 or 5 videos. I do think that there is room really for the moonlighter, you know, the occasional content creator. And yeah, I think there are some people that do create some really engaging content, even though they're not producing videos, you know, every 2 to 4 weeks. So yeah, I have to stick to my day job, and in fact I'm only recording this video because I'm just about finished another project in my day job. So projects at work are always the priority, and YouTube will always really take a back seat, unfortunately, because yeah, I really, if I was in my 20s, I'd absolutely be doing YouTube full time. I've got a lot of ideas, loads of ideas. Some of it relates to motoring. I've got loads of other ideas that I'd like to execute, which I'll do, hopefully. Oh, stability control. Oh no, we've just done oh so well, and we are now back with some warnings on the Range Rover. Now these will probably go off. I was actually watching a video with Matt Watson, I think it's CarWow, where he did a challenge between 4.4 petrol, I think the M62 TU, and then yeah, I think he had a Toyota Land Cruiser, and surprisingly the Range Rover won. And but the fault codes that Range Rover was throwing are exactly the same Range Rover fault codes here, which is to do with stability, emergency brake assist not available, stability control not available. Yeah, so there's something that these Range Rovers are very sensitive to, that I need to basically find out, and then yeah, we just need to stay on top of that. So yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world at all. I think it's a very sensitive mechanism that just gets triggered very easily. But in general, yeah, I've had no issues really with the Rangey. It's really been wonderful driving it. In fact, I'm now planning a nice long trip. So as mentioning, yeah, I'm now planning a nice long journey, and hopefully, yeah, we'll film that. Unfortunately, as I said, the content for me is always going to be sporadic at the moment, because I've got to focus on my IT career. There's no way I can really go full-time YouTube and pay for everything. I think maybe if I'd started 4 or 5 years ago, I might have stood a chance, but there's really a proliferation of YouTubers right now, especially automotive YouTubers. Quite a lot of people just doing a lot of samey stuff, which, as I say, unfortunately dilutes the ecosystem. There are 1 or 2 standout people, of course. But yeah, I think auto YouTube at the moment is more or less covered. But I will continue to do sort of the odd video. So I'm looking for the next non-runner car to purchase. I was looking at another Range Rover yesterday, but an L405, one after this one. I prefer the L322 to the L405, but the L405 has potential for me in that once I repair it, you know, like the £90,000 ones, you can then look at sending that to, you know, places like South Africa. You can actually sell that probably for a bit of a profit. And so that's going to be the plan. You know, I don't want to be loss making. You know, I'm not in this really to make a loss, and I have effectively not made an ounce, a penny. But long term, I just don't want to be burning money. You know, I do want to try and work on projects that do either break even or make a bit of cash. I mean, ideally, you know, if I had enough subscribers, I'd be probably raffling this car, because I do become a bit attached to cars, and especially when you've gone through a lot of the headaches that we've done with this car. Yeah, it's just not so easy to, you know, fix it and just give it to somebody else. But yeah, that's going to depend, as I say, on the next car, and I suspect that that is very, very close. Now this car's more or less perfect. On Monday, I dropped this car off to get the wheels refurbished. I would have purchased some Westminster ones, because you can get some really nice Westminster wheels for like nearly a grand, or £995 on eBay. But yeah, again, I need to try and keep the costs sensible. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to refurbish the wheels. I've been told that's going to be around 300 quid. Hopefully they can match the silver, and I'll try and keep the refurb more or less OEM. And then, as I say, it's just going to be the steering rack that's left really on this car. So yeah, that is really the update on this beautiful L322. I'd highly recommend that you purchase one. So if you've always dreamed about buying one of these cars, it's not going to be cheap, there's no doubt about that, but yeah, they are special cars, and especially as we head to this new sort of electric future. Enjoy the next 5 or 6 years until obviously they bring sort of the petrol and diesel ban. But yeah, just enjoy the cars really while they're still allowed on the road. This is a wonderful vehicle. I mean, it's my favorite car. I don't think it's surpassable.